Anshuman, you previously mentioned about the uncertainty and the associate players not getting paid on time. And because of this, we see a lot of associate players getting involved in match fixing, spot fixing. Like we saw players from Hong Kong getting suspended. Recently, it happened with the UAE national side during the T20 qualifiers. So what do you think about this? Is it because, players are not getting paid enough, or is it because they're not getting paid on time, or there's something else behind this?
I think it's a contribution of all the things you just said. I think associate cricket, when you get a taste of playing at that level, you sort of say, how come I'm not being rewarded for it? I've never had that issue because, I'm very fortunate enough to have been compensated by Cricket Hong Kong at a young age. So for me, any additional money right now is additional money. For me, I've never played cricket for the money. Whereas some of these guys have made such life-making decisions that they sort of sit there and say, well, I want to be compensated for this. They have families to take care of. They have, things to do. They have, a lot of them have all of these things to worry about. You look at the culture in which they've been raised is, the man of the house has to take care of the whole family financially. How are they going to do that if they're on an associate cricketer's salary? And that, I think, leads them to do all of these things. It's something that is not good to see, but there's a reason why it doesn't happen in big nations. You don't see England players doing it. You don't see Australian players doing it. You don't see, Indian players. I'm talking about the national level players doing it. It always happens with the players who are financially struggling. And at the end of the day, what choice do they have? It's a sad reality in our sport because there is such income inequality. I remember something came out after we played against India in our payment slips compared to some of the Indian players. And I felt a bit embarrassed, to be honest, because, 15 players add up their salaries compared to one Indian player on a category C is quite laughable. It's just an unnecessary stress which leads them to do all of these things. And, obviously some of them are not as educated, in what is right and what is wrong in terms of the cricketing thing. Some of them are obviously influenced by senior players who have done it for years. And, if you're hanging around with those players and you see them do it, then, obviously you're going to be like, well, this is normal, because you're easily influenced at that age. You look at the likes of Mohammad Amir, the way he was enticed by the Pakistan captain at that time. So I think there are a lot of factors that lead to it, but, I must say the ICC have been amazing in terms of how they've gone about it. I think their zero tolerance policy is great. They're really educating the players in every big tournament that comes up. And, you always see anti-corruption people, lingering around tournaments, which is fantastic. Obviously having experienced 2 players get banned myself, 2 teammates get banned, those were certainly the motives behind them doing it. The debt, the fact that they had to take care of their families, and, how nice does 30,000 US look compared to that's how much they earn in a year. So just to overstep once or to bowl a wide, it's something that, I certainly would never understand because I've never been in their position. But a lot of I think the best place and the best way to sort of eradicate it is to educate. You need to educate these players right at the grassroots level, because that definitely helped for a lot of players that I've seen, is that when they're exposed to it at a young age, they're very influential. You absorb everything like a sponge. So as long as you are aware at that age, then everything is fine. And that's how I think the ICC are going about it. And, it's definitely getting better.
Yeah. And like going into the 2020 World Cup qualifiers, the T20 World Cup qualifiers, UAE were a very strong side. They had Mohammad Naveed, they had Shaiman Anwar. It was a very strong side capable of, making it to the top two.
100%.
But yeah, just before the qualifiers began, three of their main players get suspended, and that was seen in their performance because they didn't end up qualifying for the T20 World Cup.
Yeah, it definitely is a sad thing to see. I know both of them very well, and God, they're good players, both of them.
Yeah.
And they were the backbone of the UAE team.
Yeah.
But again, foolish decisions have cost their nation a birthplace at the World Cup. So again, I think it goes down to education. You look at risk and reward, and the rewards are nothing compared to the risk you're taking, and it's just not worth it.
Yeah.
It's not worth your career or the shame or the humiliation. It's just not worth it. You do feel that sense of betrayal, as a player. I remember when Nadeem and Irfan and Hasib all got slapped with the charges. I felt angry and betrayed because Nadeem has been someone who's been playing for Hong Kong for over 15 years, and he's probably one of the best finger spinners in associate cricket, if not the best finger spinner in associate cricket. Definitely the most talented. And then, we have an important tour coming up to in Namibia for the Division 2, and he's been banned. And then I say, well, that's 10 overs every match gone. That's 3-4 wickets gone. How are we going to fill that? And unfortunately, at associate cricket, there are not a lot of bench strength. You don't have a lot of bench strength.
Yeah.
You normally go with the same 11 every time because you don't have the luxury of a good bench strength. So to fill a void like Nadeem was almost impossible to do. And, I was definitely angry and let down and betrayed. It's something that I never understand why people do, because again, the risks outweigh the rewards on every single platform on that front.
Yeah, and since I was brought up in Sharjah, I've seen Mohammad Naveed, Shaiman Anwar, Rohan Mustafa, all these UAE players grown up, Since I used to visit Sharjah for these UAE matches, I used to see them, when they had started their cricketing career. And I've seen them develop from that start to what they are right now. And, it was, even for a spectator like me, it was a bit shocking to see something like that happen.
Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate at the end of the day. You look at the players and you just say, these people who have done it, it's not just affected them.
Yeah.
It's affected the whole team. It's affected the morale. It's affected the UAE Cricket Board, the Emirates Cricket Board. It's affected everyone who is involved with the Emirates Cricket Board, not just those individual players. And, it's tarnished everything that they've built. And, that's the sad thing of it, because, I've known Nido I've known Naveed for a long time. And, he's a tremendous bowler,
Yeah.
And Shaiman Anwar is probably one of the most consistent and best associate batsmen out there.
Yeah.
And you just think that if they're doing it, then where does it stop? And I think something has to be done. And, that's why I commend the BCCI amazingly well, because, they had a problem with this at the start, but the way that, all the presidents have come in and said, we need to give more financial incentive to domestic players, I think has been amazing. And you definitely see a lot more competitive cricket in India than you did back in the day. And obviously, if you financially incentivize them, then the aura of doing something like this is taken away. At the end of the day, people are financially orientated.
Yeah. So Anshuman, talking